everyone, relax. It is Sunday, June the 29th, end of the financial year. Happy EOFI to you all. Welcome to Two Guys, One Cup, an AFL and EOFI adjacent podcast. My name is Will Anderson.
And my name is Charlie Clausen. And let's take a moment, Will, to celebrate the life and times of one Marcus Bontempelli. Played his 250th game in probably what was the match of the round, although as we are recording this, the Saints and the Dockers are playing off in the Weirdo Cup, the two weirdest teams in the history of the AFL. Appropriately, there's only one goal between them. It's where 4 minutes to go in the third quarter, 45-44, an incredibly low scoring and inaccurate game.
Yeah, it is one of those ones where you've got the idea of, like, when they did, which was the Captain America movie where they all
Civil
fought
War.
each other. So Civil War. So there's two sides. You've got people on each side, and for all the fights, you've got to find someone of an equivalent sort of size and vibe for all the side matchups. And this one feels like very much who are we going to get to fight Hawkeye or whatever it is of the AFL at the moment.
And it's also like this is a perfectly poised game for both teams to be freaking weird. Like Freo have won 5 on the trot. Look dominant at home. All their best players are in form. St Kilda have lost 5 on the trot, playing terrible football. And I look down, we've just hit the front. So
that feels about right for both of those teams.
But I did want to talk about Marcus Bontempelli because let's not forget that St Kilda had the chance to draft Marcus Bontempelli.
Well, technically, 3 other teams had the chance because he did go number 4. I think that's one of the things that is, number 4, at least you've got 3. Like, you're just like, you know what? There's only 3 above. That's like 3 other players. Like, you can get a lot, fine line between each of those players when you're picking them at that age, right?
Yeah.
Frazier, who went at pick 45, that one, there's got to be some recruiters going. So we had 44 other picks before we...
There's a few of those, right? There's Logan Morris at Brisbane, Nate Caddy. Nate Caddy went top 10, I think, but still, 9 other teams passed him up. But it's interesting, isn't it? Because, St Kilda's been in the press a lot the last few weeks because us complaining about the academies and the father-son, and everyone's always like, well, if you bloody didn't draft Marcus Bontempelli instead of Jack Billings, you wouldn't be in this situation. But what people conveniently forget from that is that Jack Billings...
You would have ruined Marcus.
We would have ruined, He would have played 30 games.
You would have broken him. You would have disillusioned him. And he would have been lost to football forever.
The funny thing about there's two bits of like trivia about that, which are just so funny. One is like, yes, Jack Billings was widely regarded by every scout as being, a top 2-3 draft pick. In fact, I think the head of the Bulldogs recruiting said they were planning on taking Jack Billings if we hadn't. But the other thing is that
it was the greatest gift you ever gave us, to be honest, was you not taking him. Not just giving us him, but the fact that we would have made the same stupid mistake that you made if given the opportunity.
It's also this idea that, like, Marcus Bontempelli, I think he's cousins with Nick Del Santo or second cousins. It's a family relations. And so the idea being that how could St Kilda be so neglectful and not knowing exactly what someone who is related to a former, because Nick Del Santo was at North Melbourne by then, by the way, as well. It's not like Dal was there giving us the inside scoop. But that is, again, held up to us as being some kind of issue, the terrible recruiting.
I wonder what it is about Bont, because who went first? Tom Boyd, is that right? Is Tom Boyd that draft? So Tom Boyd goes first, and then do Greater Western Sydney have another pick?
Yeah, I don't know, actually. What is it? Was it the 2014 draft? No, 2013 draft.
I'm going to guess. Okay, let me have a look. Hang on, I'm looking it up right now. So here we go. So trade period. No, I don't want the trade period. I don't want retirement. So I want draft. Thank you. Just want a national draft. Here we go. Okay, all right. Oh, okay, great. So Bontempelli goes at 4. At 3, as you know, Jack Billings goes to St Kilda. So two GWS picks are number 1 and number 2. So Tom Boyd, who ends up. So we've got actually in the top 4 here 2 Premiership Bulldogs, which is pretty great. So
what a great year!
It's a really great.
Who was your head of recruiting in 2013?
This has worked out really well. He managed to get us someone via GWS. That's one of the greatest recruiting of all time. Okay, so Tom Boyd is at number 1. Who goes number 2? GWS player.
Lockie Whitfield? No. What
What I
position?
would say
Oh,
is,
yeah.
yeah, go on. Well, if you had drafted this person, you didn't get the opportunity to, obviously, because they'd already gone. But if you had drafted this person, you wouldn't be as mad as missing out on Marcus Bontempelli. But you'd be mad enough. He's been a very good footballer for his
Josh Kelly.
Still playing. Josh Kelly, yes.
Josh Kelly, yes.
Yes.
Who I believe has another vague, distant connection to St Kilda that we get yelled at about all the time. That's the one thing I've noticed about all this backlash that St Kilda's been getting for, challenging the Northern Academies and the father son is whatever, is everyone wants us to shut the fuck up. Like, we put up with you, St Kilda. Like, it's like we are the Zach Galifianakis in The Hangover. Like, we've been brought along to the Bucks party. No one really wants us there, but, we understand that we've got to let us play, but we better not fucking act up.
Yeah, but we all know that you're going to.
Yeah.
Shit's going to go wrong, and it's going to be your fault. So
we're going to give the entire league drugs, and you won't remember what happened last night.
I will say, for the Bulldogs, not a bad draft either, because at number 29, again, via GWS, I forgot that he started at GWS, Rory Lobb.
Rory Lobb was in the 2013 draft.
Yeah.
Have you come round full circle? I mean, look, we started off trying to talk about Marcus Bontempelli, but let's get to the real star of the Bulldogs, Rory Lobb.
Rory Lobb.
So where do you sit on the kind of affection meter for Rory Lobb these days?
Yeah, I love it. Because there's nothing better than somebody who's willing to disavow everything that you know about them and then completely change their life, their game, their direction, their perspective. Like, I loved what Rory Lobb did, which was he kind of read the room eventually that no one was happy with what was going on. Again, to this day, Jared Waitley. When he broke Jared Waitley, Rory Lobb knew that he'd broken football. He had flown too close to the sun, right? And him going back, the fact that like Liam Jones can't get in the team because Lobb is keeping him out. He's been fantastic. He's not great every week, but he's certainly a much better backman than he was a forward.
And he's fucking big. Like that. Honestly, sometimes I think in this game, you just need a big lug that you can just stick in holes.
I think that also he benefits from, I don't think he ever had that natural, he's got all the physical attributes and you can see why he would work as a footballer, but he never felt like he instinctively understood football in the way that you need to be a very effective forward, right?
Yeah.
Like when you watch Sam Darcy play, it's not just his height that is impressive. It's the fact that he reads the game like a rover or like a forward, knows where to run, knows where to position his body, can kick them from the boundary, can kick them off the ground. Rory Lobb never seemed to have that sense. But if you put him in the back line where it's all just like run forward, do your thing, I think he's been fantastic. It's been one of my favorite stories is because there was no one that I enjoyed less at the Bulldogs than Rory Lobb. And it was really because it wasn't just him.
Yeah.
It was to me, he was emblematic of something that the Bulldogs had done for years, which was draft someone who only played well against us.
Yeah.
Like so often in our history, like we would trade in these forwards who were like, they're a really great forward. And I'm like, yeah, they were great against us, but they're not that good against everybody else week to week. And now they don't even get to play us anymore. They'll be great at training because they're playing us. But as soon as they're in the game and they're not playing us, they're going to be no good. But he was keeping out the forwards from the forward line as well. I was like, this doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah,
but
because they didn't know where to play him.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, this makes a lot of sense.
So speaking of Sam Darcy, so you saw before the first bounce, little Tom Papley get into him and stuff.
Oh man, how fun was that?
It was fun. Did it make the victory even sweeter for you at the end?
Made that first goal pretty sweet.
Yeah.
That was a great setup and punchline. I was like, oh, this is a solid opener. In this Netflix world of having to grab people's attention in the first couple of minutes to make sure they don't switch over to anything else, Tom Papley did what Tom Papley does, which is like,
irritate. He's a pest.
New kid on the block. I'm going to go down and irritate him as a pest. Sam Darcy swatted him to the ground.
That was so funny. Like, it was completely ineffective. And then he did the big brother thing where he came back for the second time and Sam Darcy literally held him at
Just
arm's length
held
while
him.
he's swinging his little arms.
It's like, this is one of the things about Darcy's reach that is understated. Everyone talks about his height when he's marking the ball, but what they don't realize is that he can also, Marx Brothers style, just hold your head away from his body and you can't get towards him. And so then when he marks that mark, kicks that goal, and you're just like, well, this is great. This is on. And then, did you watch the game?
Yes.
It felt like for the rest of the game, it never stopped in momentum. They were like, okay, is this what we're doing? Then let's just go nonstop for the next 4 quarters.
It was easily the match of the round. It was a very disappointing round all up. Like, no major upsets or surprises, a few shellackings and stuff. But
you know what could do with a shellacking? The bloody surface at the SCG. That's what could do with a shellacking. I mean, how is that, by the way? Is that the worst surface in an AFL that you have ever?
In the last 30 years, like, you used to see it all the time.
Right. I mean, back
when
in
Marvel, back when Marvel, when it was Telstra Dome, when they first built it, do you remember literally whole chunks of lawn would come up? That's the worst I've ever seen. Like, if a player
that was
does
consistently bad. Whereas this one, it felt like you were playing a game
Guess
where the floor is lava. Yeah, like every square.
Yeah, I love
it. This one's made of chocolate mug cake.
Yeah. Why don't we have a round?
Yes.
Where every ground there is a few booby traps on each ground, and
booby
perfectly disguised. Yeah, booby trap round.
And how about
we do it for breast cancer awareness?
Oh, yeah, yes. We
booby
have
trap
round for breast cancer awareness.
Pink ribbon round, booby trap round.
And how about the square is lava?
Yeah.
So we have times in the game where, just for 2 minutes or 3 minutes or whatever, the square is lava. So you cannot put
Dane Rampy would be fine. He's been practicing this his whole life.
Finally, Rampy's time to shine.
But the big story, I think, from this round, Will, is the continued spiral of the Carlton Football Club.
Oh, yeah.
Now, ordinarily, this would be the point in which I start playing my favourite clips from Blue Abroad. But we thought rather than that, we would go straight to the source and speak to Terry. So he's in the waiting room. Let's bring him in.
Okay.
Terry, welcome to Two Guys, One Cup. How are you?
I'm good. This has been a really interesting link up that's just come out of nowhere this year, but I'm glad it's happened.
No one
Terry,
is more.
Can I ask this firstly? Because I feel like I'm the third in this blind date here, because it was Charlie who first went searching, I think, for, not malicious, but for maybe mean-spirited reasons originally, was searching out Carlton fans, and then was won over on a journey that we have followed on this podcast, from really understanding that for a generation of Carlton fans, that they are St Kilda fans, that they haven't grown up with the success and reputation that we ascribe to the Carlton Football Club. But how did you first become aware that we were talking about your show on our show?
So I actually had it sent to me after round 1, when Mars had come on and he was talking about the Richmond players doing emoting.
Fortnite emoting?
Yeah,
Fortnite emoting.
So I got the clip. I had the episode sent to me, and to be honest with you, it's the first time someone's actually looked at the channel and actually taken the time to understand the mechanism of what it is. And so I think from there, I've actually been tuning into you guys every week, and it's been pretty cool that someone's out there flying the flag for Blue Abroad and actually trying to understand what we're trying to achieve here, but also entertaining you at the same time.
Terry, it was not on my bingo card that I would be not only engrossed in the week-to-week machinations of the Carlton Football Club, but also finding myself sympathising or empathising with Carlton supporters. You even said something after the game on Thursday, which I'm like, oh, that's what it is. Where you said that when you talk to that older generation of Carlton fans, they're like, I've seen 5 flags. And you said, great, I've seen 5 wooden spoons. That was me. That was me in the 80s when the Blues were winning flags at school. All my Carlton mates were just loving football, loving life. And I barracked for the team that was just accumulating wooden spoons.
Yep. It's a big gap that's happened. And I've come to realize, I'm 34 now. So I've come to realize I've been almost spreading the message of Carlton gospel, which is based on something that I've actually never seen. Like, it's not elite. It's not a winning organization. It doesn't represent excellence and standards and all of these things.
So how do you balance, because the thing that I find so unique about what you do, I mean, it's a public service, as Will's pointed out. Like, what you're doing is rising to the moment, and you're keeping the Carlton fans from the ledge. But how do you balance, because you're also quite critical of the club, and that's the thing that I've found most fascinating as an outsider who doesn't really know much about what's going on behind the scenes. But no, that has been a continuous theme this year, where you keep coming back to this board that seemed to be kind of like burrowed in like a tick and unable to change anything. And it results in the fans being stuck in this kind of Groundhog Day.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still a student. It's become, I mean, this was all supposed to be a documentation of the journey to the premiership from when we won 2 games in 2018. So, I mean, I really thought by 2025 would be, at the peak of it. And so it's honestly, it's the journey of just self discovery and like learning how to deal with my emotions. Sometimes I can get a little bit overboard. I get better than, every year. I also have my moments here and there where sometimes the emotions get the better of me. But I think what I've realized this year in particular is it's less about me. It's more about listening, because a lot of people want to talk in the footy media world and very few want to listen. And I think there's something beautiful that happens when you see people just express their emotions, which they probably normally wouldn't in real life, but their football club allows them to have this vehicle to express. And it's quite powerful,
Terry, can I ask, one of the questions I've been fascinated by is, are Carlton fans more liable to go off the deep end than other fan bases? Because it becomes a bit of a cliche of, oh, Carlton lost, Monday morning on Gerard Whateley's show is going to go off. Everyone's going to ring in. Everyone's going to make their speeches about the statement of the club. We've seen some of that reflected through your show. Is there something unique about the Carlton fan base, or is this just a bad time that we have caught them in?
I mean, I would argue there's something unique about the Carlton fan base because I live within it and I feel it. I mean, people just attach their livelihood to it. I've asked the question to the world a lot of times, like, why do we care? Like, why do we actually care? It is a game. It's a made-up game. It's all fantasy. Much more important things happening.
Welcome. Yeah, we basically started this podcast. It's called Two Guys, One Cup because when we started, both of our teams had only won one cup. And the whole idea about it was going to be that we would commiserate with each other about the fact that our teams had only won one premiership. And we started in 2016. So, look, footy doesn't take you where you think it's going to take you.
Terry, the smartest thing you ever did was not to partner up with someone who's going to win a flag. Although I guess you do. You've got the other one you do with Swoop Luke. So you kind of have shared the load a little bit. But can I ask, what is your history with the Carlton Footy Club? Was it a family thing? How did you get into football and what led you down this path of becoming a YouTuber?
Yes, I'll cut a long story short as best as I can. I mean, I was very young. Life was pretty bad in the household when I was growing up, and Carlton was my escape. I was, young fella going to the footy, feeling that love and electricity. I was hooked straight away. It was an escape from what was happening at home. And then what led me down the YouTube path, I mean, I'm a lawyer by trade. I practiced for 3.5 years full time, and then the world changed pretty rapidly. I was watching, Arsenal fan TV and fan channels on YouTube while I was at work and just thinking, what is happening here? These weren't the options to me in high school. And then moved overseas for 2.5 years. And then I started the podcast while I was living away, just audio talking into my phone. And then I sort of did some digging, did some research, learned a little bit more about YouTube. And then, I don't know, 2018 had a bit of a light bulb moment at an Arsenal game. I got interviewed after the game with Robbie and the guys at AFTV. And in the moment, I was like, oh my God, we don't have as many fans of Arsenal at Carlton, but they're sure as hell as passionate. So I had that moment where I'm like, I want to try it, give it a crack, come home and see if I can build the thing and turn it into something. And yeah, fast forward, I mean, I'm cutting a lot here, but fast forward to 2023, end up quitting my job and just going all in with it. And, this is life now. And it's almost like at the moment, it's like, what the fuck have I done? But
I feel like you of all people have the right to ask that question based on that timeline.
but the idea was, you talk about footy for a living and you live out your passion and you create your reality, which I have, but also it's not as, much of a fairy tale as what it might seem on the outside.
I mean, when I read the... Sorry, Will, you go.
No, you go, Charlie. It's all right.
Well, when I read the comments of like your videos, and this is the thing that I think is your great skill, is it's not just Carlton fans who seem to watch Blue Abroad, and probably there's a lot of, Pies fans and Bombers fans tuning in for the same reason that I initially did. But then I see the reaction, and what I have come to realize is you seem to sum up the fan experience really well. And even when you get these super, like, after a loss, it's really emotional and you've got someone calling up and, they want to burn their membership or like throw their scarf out the window. And you've got this great way of allowing that anger to like legitimizing it, but then also bringing it to a space of positivity. Has that always been how you've supported?
No, it hasn't. I think it's something that's happened over the last few years. I think Carlton fans and maybe footy fans in general, but I can only speak on Carlton fans. Like, I think they can be painted with this brush of, some of them spat at the players in 2023, or, old mate calls into the radio after the game and just says the worst possible things, or they vandalize the property. And I think most Carlton fans can be painted with that brush, rightly or wrongly. And I just think it's almost been the too hard basket dealing with the fans. I'm a bit crazy enough to think like, let's deal with it. So I think for me, it's kind of turned into like, feel the feels. Let's do a little something after the game and just like get it out, like, express it and deal with it. And then hopefully after a couple of hours after the final siren, we can go back to our households and not take it out on our families. And because people feel it, whether they should or they shouldn't, they do,
Why do you think they feel it so deeply? Because you, of all people, will have had an insight into the fact that it's easy to say, oh, come on, it's just a game, you can step away from it. But I hear these people, even the ones who are ringing into the radio with the outrage, you can hear the hurt in their voices. And I heard a guy say this week on the radio mid-rant, he said, I don't have a lot in my life. I work a factory job and this team is like, this is my passion. This is the thing that I love. And like, I've invested so much in it and, I don't get any joy of it. And then I just go back to my life and I'm not happy. And I was like, well, that's okay. I get that. And that seems like fair. You don't have the option to just be able maybe to step away from it. What do you think it is that does connect people like on that deep level?
Well, I mean, ultimately it's really hard in this life to feel a part of something. I mean, if you're into your religion, great. I'm not really a religious person, but I would say the Carlton Football Club sort of acts like that for me. Just that common interest that links me with people. And, we're all little lost souls on this rock in the middle of nowhere, so to have something that connects us, I think is important. And then I think you've got the generations before us, European mostly, who migrated to Australia and, footy connected them to the country, and then they had children and then they had children, and sort of we're here now. And so I think it's a family thing as well. I do think the European influence has something to do with the passion, because they just show it a little differently. And, but ultimately, I mean, to have something that can connect you and make you feel like a part of something in a pretty lonely world for a lot of people, I think that's what it is. It's something like that. That's my best guess.
Can we talk about this season in particular?
Sure.
I mean, from round one,
let us be your Terry. You can be one of the people calling your show, and we'll be your Terry.
Yeah, if you need to let out a fuck me, you can. That's completely fine.
Fuck me.
But so from round one, that loss to Richmond, you could almost write it off as a round one quirk. These kind of things happen. But at what stage did you start to think, oh, there's something a bit deeper going on? Like, you're not stringing the wins together, or you're winning against sort of like lower half teams. When did the alarm bells start ringing for you?
The 2 weeks where we played the Swans and the Giants, so just before the bye. Like, when we fell into the whole 0-4, I thought, okay, well, I've seen this before. Don't draw a conclusion. 2023 happened. We all wrote it off midway and they turned it around. And then I watched that Giants game in particular at Marvel before the bye, and I just saw the poison, and I just saw I don't know, I just saw something just die. And I mean, to be fair, I'm pretty optimistic, so I see it later than most. And then coming out of the bye, unconvincing wins, but wins. And then obviously North Melbourne, and then the game that's just passed against the Power. It's just,
Did you just throw up in your throat a little bit?
There was a
Yeah,
little bit
yeah.
of that. There was a little bit of I can't even get through this. I'm listing it now. North Melbourne, and then oh no, I can't go on. I can't
Acid
go
reflux.
on.
Yeah. So something died in there, and yeah, I mean, maybe it'll come out in a book in 10 years, what's going on the inside, but there just feels to be a poison, you know. It's this cycle, and then obviously you hear the rhetoric, whether it's the players or the coach or the board or Brad Lloyd or him or her or whatever. It's just this spiritual death, this feeling of death. I don't know. I can't explain it.
Do you subscribe to the idea that there is something more to it? Because I said this last week, I think, on the show, which was that I think that Carlton fans are the rabbit holers, the QAnons of the football supporting world, in that I've never heard anyone be able to name like various members of the board or the football staff or whoever. They'll list them. They'll be like,
Yeah.
it's this guy's fault and it's the line coach's fault. And they will know every
The
single
silent
person.
protest.
Yeah, right. And they read so much into it. Like they follow it like it's a Dan Brown Da Vinci Code novel, and that they need to like find all the clues and work out the mystery. But do you subscribe to the fact that there might be just something in the walls or in the organization that is leading to what is happening?
Absolutely. I mean, I do this for a living, so I've like gone deep into the rabbit hole of like trying to find meaning, even though it could just be meaningless. It could just be a bad generation. It could just be, you know, I mean, my perception is there's something around identity, and you know, there's like a class gap of fans almost. There's the common fans that come on the fan cams, and then there's the other fans that are all, you know, just regular people, which all of us are. And then you've got this white collar brand, when really that's not what the Carlton Football Club was built on. It was built on the hard work ethic of the blue collar people. And I just think there's a just misalignment with brand versus club, you know, ego. You know, ultimately there's human beings running the joint. Human beings are flawed. So, you know, obviously there's going to be flaws with every organization. And yeah, I mean, the playing group cop it the most because they're the ones that we see play, but it's not them. It's a little bit of them. It's a little bit of the coaches. It's a little bit of everyone, even the fans. It's a little bit of us too. It's a little bit of our entitlement that you speak of, and these Carlton fans that think they're something, but we're not.
I'm in a chat, like just a general footy chat with footy supporters from all over the shop, but there's mainly Carlton supporters, and it has been dead this year. Like I don't think anyone's posted in about 3 months, and it's palpable, like how bad this season has gone. Like even if Carlton were to rally and, you know, it's finished just outside the 8 or make the bottom half of the 8, it feels like something has been broken that will need to be addressed. If you had that magic wand or the power to address something and install in whoever you want, whether it's board or coach or draft in a player, what would you do?
Oof. Well, I think I want to know what's going on at the very top. Who are the actual decision makers, and what is the culture that they set for themselves, and how is that trickling down to the rest of the club? Because I do believe that everything starts from your leaders, whether that be on field or off field. And then I think there's something to do with what I just mentioned, the identity part and who we are moving into the modern world. Like, have we adapted to the modern way of footy, not only from the draft point of view, which we obviously took a long time to do because we can't just go out and buy players anymore and pay them under the table. So, you know, I think there's a bit of there. I mean, I want to see the next wave of leaders off the field as well. It currently seems to be a really old boys club, which is fine because generally the older you are, the more wise you are, and you know, the more you understand about the world. But there's a whole generation of people that grew up with digital, and there's a lot of people that run the club that did not grow up with digital. So we're moving into this new world rapidly, and I just think as a whole club, we've got to adapt, and fan behavior has to improve. Like, we've got to be able to talk about it and be passionate within reason and not get too over the top, because it's a lot of pressure to put on, you know, teenagers and early 20-year-old guys. So yeah, I just think there's a kumbaya coming together moment, but not just the playing group, like the entire club, fans and staff and everyone. And yeah, there's just such an opportunity here, and I'm pretty passionate about that too.
I must admit that at the start of the season, when there was the incident with the president and the Twitter post, I thought, well, this is either going to
Hacked.
be a great story of the season, and this will be like everyone will look back and think, oh, I thought it was going to go terribly when that happened, and now it just feels like we should have known. We should have known when there was not just the old boys at the top, but the old fellas at the top. That maybe it was not going to be a great season for the Blues.
Yeah, that was wild. I was in Thailand getting away, doing some training and some healing and some preseason work before the season started. And I remember I was actually talking to these guys from Liverpool and telling them, oh, Liverpool and Carlton was similar type story. And then like 10 minutes later, I'm like, our president just posted a photo of his dick. Like, yeah.
Great.
I mean,
And it was just
Really sets the tone.
bizarre. I'm like everything we've been through, like, the whole rebuild thing and like 5-year plans and all of that, and all for it just to fall away on the 8th of January 2025 with a schlong. It's like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Can you settle something for us, Terry, as well? Because in years gone by, when we've talked about Carlton, Will and I have a clear memory, maybe it's Mandela effect, that there was a period of time when Paddy Cripps was not getting over his injuries and he was slow and he was missing lots of games. And there was real rumblings around getting him back to WA, trading him out, why he has some value, all that kind of stuff. And then since he's become a dual Brownlow medalist, we've been told that we made that up, that no serious Carlton fans were ever saying that. Could you, on the record, say whether or not, was there a movement to get rid of Paddy Cripps prior to his resurgence?
I wouldn't say there was a movement. There was a big faction of the fan base that thought it might be in our best interest, because 2021, it was what we're seeing now, going downhill. Tiggy lost the players. External review was announced midway through the year. Cripps had value. Cripps, we now know that he was having injections in his back and he wasn't right. But I remember, I had videos and reviews and I'm like, what's going on with Cripps? Like, can our captain please stand up and stop fucking giving up on contests? And I was getting really mad at it as well, because I thought he was checking out, not knowing that he was injured. So yeah, there was a section of the fan base that thought maybe it would be in the best interest to get what we can for him, because at this point he hadn't signed until July, I think it was, or late June. So yeah, and then obviously he's turned it around, new coach, fresh energy, and it's revitalized him. And so yeah, but there definitely were quite a few people that thought maybe it would be the right move to go.
I feel like in retrospect, the fact that he got 45 votes in the Brownlow last year should have been a warning sign that maybe not anyone else in the team was doing much, right? Like, we all thought it was a positive for him, but maybe in retrospect, it was
said more about everyone else.
Different story for the Blues. Now, how do you feel, Terry? Because obviously, and I certainly don't want to rub salt into your wounds, but Matthew Kennedy has been having such an incredible season at the Bulldogs. Like, I didn't know that he was as good a player as he is, when he was playing at Carlton, but he has been our best pickup. Just fantastic for us. Like, part of the reason the Bulldogs are having a good season. What does that say? That he was he that good a player at Carlton as well, or has he like got a new lease of life going to the Bulldogs?
Well, this is the interesting thing. He was viewed as being behind the likes of Cripps, Walsh, Chera, and then it was kind of like, can you play Hewitt and Kennedy in the same sort of role in the midfield? And there was a school of thought that the Carlton midfield was too slow and we needed to just re-energize it a little bit, and having those four, but more specifically Hewitt and Kennedy together, was just making us a little too slow. So the move was made. I'm so happy for him. I love him. Like, I just love seeing him succeed. I have no bad blood, no ill will. I don't think any Carlton supporter does, because he took a bit of time to come on, and he was reliable and durable and all of these things. And so, we made the move to, we traded for him and then tried to add Jagger Smith to the mix, and that just hasn't worked out. Not to say that, he would have been the difference, but we did try to change up the midfield a little bit and it just hasn't worked. And he's thriving. George Hewitt is also thriving for Carlton this year, so it's kind of worked for both of them. And we've been able to see Cooper Lord emerge a little bit more as well, who just would not have been playing in these minutes if Kennedy was there. So I think in the short term, it was always going to work for the Bulldogs, and hopefully in the long term it works for Carlton. But at the end of the day, I'm happy for him. He deserves to be recognised for who he is. He's a good person overall.
I mean, the Saints also have an ex-blue in Liam Stocker, and I was shocked to hear your good mate Pommy say that when Liam Stocker first started at the Blues, he's like, this guy's going to be the next Luke Hodge, which I love Liam Stocker. But I think Pommy's was just off in his precognition. Another player that could be coming to the Saints is obviously TDK. What are your feelings on that?
Oh, depends which week, which day you ask. I think when it's all said and done, I think he'll stay. But I wouldn't begrudge him for leaving. I would understand. I think there's a benefit for us in both situations. It would immediately relieve the salary cap a little bit, and we'd be able to spread out the load a little bit more. But we lose a pretty talented guy and good character as well. I think I've learned the older I get, the less attached I get to the players, because I mean, I'm older than most of them on the list, if not all of them now. So that's happened for the first time in my life.
Mate, wait till you get older than most of the coaches.
Yeah.
that's where we're
That's
at.
when it kills you. You're like, I don't reckon I'm going to play AFL, I reckon. I can rule myself out.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty fluid with it. I think I think it can work either way if he stays or if he goes. A lot of pressure if he goes on him to perform at that price tag, and that's going to be spoken about every game he doesn't perform to the standard and the like. But yeah, I don't know. I think he'll stay ultimately. I don't know why.
I think a lot of Saints fans are comfortable with that if it works out that he stays, because look, we've got a lot of money and we can afford to pay him 1.7 and pay Naz and pay even another midfielder $1 million. We're cashed up, but I think it's more the psychology of it. Of if he's coming here for the money and he's like, it's because it sounds like he's doing everything to stay at Carlton. He's meeting, with the board saying, what more can you give me to get me to stay? So if we do extract him, it's going to sound like it's under duress. And I just don't think that's a great way for your marquee player to enter a club.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everyone's going to be looking at him to be the best player every game from day one. So good luck to him if he chooses that path.
Well, now, all I'm hearing here, Charlie, is that I've heard Terry say have an explanation for when the good old days at Carlton were. I've heard you tell me that TDK is going into Carlton saying, "What else can you do for me?" It might be time to get the brown paper bags back.
Oh, that's right.
Roll the dice. It was the good old days. Let's I mean, it's easier to hide cash these days. Exactly. You give him a franchise. Suddenly TDK's got a couple of Yochis or something.
1.1 in cash, but he's a car dealership.
That's
Don't worry about it. Where are the cars coming and going from? Don't ask. Don't check the boots.
When you get home, here's a set of keys. When you get home, there's something that will unlock that you'll enjoy. Don't ask any questions about it.
Terry, one of my favorite things, obviously, about fan cams is when some of your callers go off the reservation and you very expertly and very discreetly steer them back on. It's been a bit of a running commentary for us. Joel, who's got his list. And Will, I'm not sure, you probably didn't hear this, but Joel, after much, he finally presented the list. And
he's got the list.
How far can this team be embarrassed? So I'll read out the players that have to go at the end of the year. So Doc, Cripps, McGovern, Curnow, McKay, Williams, Akers, Sard, Fantasia, Fogarty, and Lewis Young.
Hang on, they were the ones who were going.
Now, I assume he just opened the footy record and just started at the top and went down the list.
Oh, my God.
I love him so much.
I mean, I do love him too, because his kind of earnestness, because this is the thing about all your fans who call in, I see bits of myself in all of them. There's the people who can laugh it off. There's the people who there's the fuck me guy. It's all these different sides of, my personality. But I get that sense of because there is a powerlessness, isn't there? You're just a fan.
Yeah.
And it's well, maybe if I make a list and start crossing names off, it'll somehow help the team.
Well, Joel in particular is a really unique one because his grandfather played for Carlton. He was a Brownlow medalist, Bert Deacon. So
Right.
he's been ingrained in the Carlton Football Club and the standards and the excellence, and he just sees what it is now, and it's just completely fallen. And so he tries his best to tune out, and I tell him, maybe it could be good for a week or two off, and then when he comes back, he's ready to roar at me, and I love it. But he's he loves the Carlton Football Club a lot, and as you can see, it just pains him that how much the standard has dropped. And he's been calling for the likes of Harry and the like to maybe get what we can for them for years.
Fool's gold.
Yeah,
the fool's gold forward line.
Yeah. So, yeah.
There was a fan cams about 4 or 5 weeks ago. We played the clip on the show where you just very quietly let's move along. Yep, and let's move along.
Yep.
Yeah, and moving on, and let's move along. Terry, it's been so great.
Yeah, thank you very much,
have you on
mate.
this show. We may have to check in with you again before the end of the season. But do you have any questions for us from one digital powerhouse to another?
Oh, yeah.
Do you have any questions for us?
How did you find the channel? Like, what was the catalyst to come
Yeah,
here?
how did you find the
No,
because for years we've talked about. So Terry, we have a bunch of friends who are Carlton fans. People of our age were your products of that successful generation of Carlton and all the entitlement that came with us. And so we grew up supporting very unsuccessful football teams, surrounded
Small
by
clubs.
friends who barrack for these big clubs, these big successful clubs, and would absolutely let us know about it all the time. And so, look, when the tables have been turned, there have been moments in which we've liked to indulge ourselves in the schadenfreude that comes with that. But I think that maybe finding Terry was your way through that and out. Again, not like Terry does to Carlton fans, Charlie. I feel like he's offered you a healing opportunity as well.
100%. Because now I'm thinking, is this the same at every club? If I was to sit down and speak with supporters of every club, would I realize we have more in common than we have differences? I think I found it because of Jake, who runs Saints TV. I think I must have found him that way. But I mean, it's a very popular channel, yours. Like it gets pumped into the algorithm, pumps it into my feed because I obviously look for a lot of AFL content. So I can't remember the very first fan cams I want, but I do have a clear memory after that loss to Richmond that I couldn't wait to get onto the fan cams. Like, I'm so glad I did. Like, and now, like, it's honestly, I mean, I have a Saints chat going, like all Saints supporters, a group going, and I started advocating for you. I've almost been excommunicated because I was like, hey, listen, I've held up Blues supporters as been the boogeyman my entire life. And all my Saints fans are like, no, they're the worst. They're arrogant. They're entitled. And I'm like, no, listen, I've been watching fan cams all year. And they're just like us. Terry's seen 5 wooden spoons. That's the same man I've seen. Like, I've been to more grand finals than Terry has probably. They've lost every one of them, but still, I've been to the grand finals.
Oh, no, Charlie, we're living in a world where a Carlton fan is on a podcast with a Bulldogs fan, and I'm the privileged one.
The world has gone topsy-turvy. It makes no sense. But yes, Terry, we are huge fans of you and the show, and keep doing what you're doing, and you're welcome back anytime.
Thank you very much. And thank you for, honestly, the way that you've given it a chance to listen to what's happening and the way you've articulated, what I do and what we do. Like, I really do appreciate that because it does take time to really get it, and I appreciate you doing that. So all the best with everything, guys.
You too, mate.
Thanks, mate. Charlie, how good was that? I enjoyed that. What a nice guy.
Yeah, really good. Okay, so there's a minute to go in the game. The Saints are 1 goal down.
Oh, come on.
Should I see what's happening?
Yes,
should I give a live
please.
commentary
Yes,
of
let's
this?
do it. Yes, absolutely.
I mean, this is the
Let's
ultimate
do it.
schadenfreude after, we did the 2 guys, 1 kiss of death. All right, here we go.
Okay.
Let me see how much. No, Freo fans are standing and applauding. It's game over.
Oh, okay. Good commentary.
We didn't get to give our kiss of death.
I reckon Freo have got this one in the bag. That's my guess.
sucks.
That's my prediction.
All right, we'll get to the mailbag. Before we do, let's quickly.
Can I just quickly say, I know we didn't get to
Yeah.
Bont, and we don't have to linger on it too much.
No,
because we can
I do want to
celebrate
get
his
to Bont.
300th or 350th.
You wanted to talk about
or
Rory Lobb.
400th or whatever. But I mean, I am interested. I hope one day we will find out why it was that those 3 other players like that Bont was picked for. I'd be really interested to know, was there something about him that they thought was not going to
Because
work?
he was a speculative pick.
Yeah.
Right? Like that was the idea.
He was
an
a
athlete,
so he was a big midfielder, and people didn't know whether that was a thing that was.
thing.
And also, he doesn't look fast, but he is fast.
Yeah, it's that loping, those big loping steps.
But it's that
burp. Sorry.
The weird thing is just how like perfect a personality and a person he has been in the game. I was reflecting upon that in the 250th, which is that we see him all the time and he represents himself so well, and we know absolutely nothing about him. He hides in plain sight in such an effective way, Bont. You never see him have a misstep. But he's not a huge personality. He just is a very, very good footballer who just represents himself in such a respectful way.
It's rarefied air to be a footballer that is universally loved and celebrated. Like Lenny Hayes, like Lenny Hayes, you don't really know much about him. He's not necessarily like someone who does a lot of publicity, but the way he presents himself when he does front the media, but especially on the field, when they were showing the highlights package of him on Friday night, first of all, great hair. Like through the ears, always had amazing hair.
Well,
like,
this is what I would say as well is, for a guy who doesn't feel like a guy who's into looks, right? You wouldn't assign that. Bailey Smith. But Bailey Smith has the one look. Bont's had a range. Over the years, he's tried. He had a real short back and sides, and yet over the years he's had a range of looks.
This look though, the samurai haircut,
that's the best one.
It's the best one
for sure.
That last year when he kicked that incredible goal against Freo, when he had the shorter haircut, I'm like, that's the worst look. Look, kudos to you for trying something different, but this little samurai haircut, I could be a barista at your favorite cafe. Just stick with that, because I also think he's low key handsome in a kind of Adam Driver kind of way.
Yeah, but in a sort of he's handsome with the beard and the ponytail hair.
The less he looks like he's trying, the better looking he gets. And it's kind of like his football, because it's so laconic. Like you say, he doesn't look particularly fast. He sort of lopes in, but then he does these things which look so effortless, and that's what makes him such an appealing footballer.
He's the most even the other night when he's just playing fine, not having the best game he's ever had. Other players were playing better. Just he plays the game at a level and in a way that is Isaac Heaney, I think, is an incredible footballer, and he just turned it on in that game for a quarter, and you were just like, this is good stuff. To watch Heaney, but he goes in and out of games, and he can do that. Whereas you feel like Bont just operates at that level at all times, and at his worst, he's still better than most. He's not his top level is so good that it's better than everybody else. It's just that his bottom level is better than everybody else.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it, too? Because you don't necessarily think of him as being particularly sort of combative, like a Josh Kennedy, another big-bodied midfielder who was crash and bash. That cliche of him being the Rolls Royce is almost perfect, because he glides through traffic looking like $1 million, but not one dent on the car.
Yeah, that's right. He's basically an armored Rolls Royce, because people just
a Hummer.
Yeah.
Yes, Marcus Bontempelli, we salute you. Well, what else happened? Gold Coast.
Can I quickly just mention, because Adam Spencer sent this message through, that Hamish and Andy talked about the
he's not the only one. Oh, right, quite a few people sent this through. Yes, at the 16-minute mark. I've listened to it.
Have you? So were they speculating about the exact same thing as we were speculating about?
Thing.
Yeah. And did they have any answers? Did Hamish, were they just asking the question? Will Hamish and Andy get to the bottom of this in a way that we were not able to get to the bottom of it?
Well, I imagine they've probably got better contacts than us. But we had a guy who worked on the ad write in and then redact. Refused to be named and redact. And then we had someone who was tangentially linked to the shoot who confirmed what the redacted comments had said.
Yeah.
So, no, they didn't have any other insight. Their discussion was exactly ours, which is why did Christian Petrarca agree to this, and how's it pitched to him? So, once again, two guys, one cup. on the front foot, breaking stories and hearts.
Yeah, that's our new slogan. 2 guys, 1 cup, breaking stories and hearts.
Hawthorn smashed North Melbourne, who
Smashed
just
them.
is so disappointing.
Well, that's
Fucking
okay
hell,
though.
man.
I reckon if you're
Is it?
North,
Is it?
yes, because firstly, in this season, everyone's had a terrible game. Like,
But they have lots of terrible games, and they
We-
always come after their game where you think, oh, they've turned a corner. Then they do this.
do you know who Hawthorn smashed a few weeks ago? The Bulldogs. And then a few weeks before that, Hawthorn were hopeless and were getting smashed by everybody. North
Yeah,
Melbourne
that's
have had a good period. They're not going to suddenly just be a good, consistent team who's amazing every week. And they hit a Hawthorn who are now back in red hot form and
Yeah.
are just going.
And
And they're
fucking
great
Jack
down
Gunston. Like, I was thinking
Yeah.
about Jack Gunston. If he had played for the Saints, he would be like one of our all-time greats.
there. Right.
And you barely remember, like, when you think of like that premiership era, would Jack Gunston even enter your top 5?
I reckon that actually should be part of St Kilda's recruiting strategy, right? Like,
38-year-old
just
Jack Gunston.
No, I'm not even saying, well, firstly, you could do worse, right?
Yeah.
Like
PDK.
But secondly, maybe you should be going to a successful team and saying, like a Collingwood or a Hawthorn, and saying to a player who is around like a Dylan Moore or like that sort of level of like players, just going, mate, you're not even top 5 in this team. And
Yeah.
this club, when they do their like 100-year celebration, they've got like 120 people on the ground. Like that's their legends. Like the Bulldogs wheeled out Bob Murphy and everyone waved. Like there's no, you get a real
He
hero
didn't even
slot.
play in that grand final.
Yeah,
He
right.
wasn't even on the ground.
Like, come to a club.
Not even a premiership hero.
Come to a club where we fluke one, you'll be the star of it. Like,
That's a great strategy.
right?
I gotta be honest.
You don't want to get
sold.
lost in the mix of Hawthorn legends. You just like whispering in someone's ear. Even if the Hawks win the premiership this year, mate, people barely remember Shane Crawford. And he was one of the
Yeah.
greatest players of all time,
Brownlow
like,
medalist.
yeah, because he just wasn't in an era at Hawthorn that was as success. He won 1 premiership as opposed to the
Yeah.
5 that you normally get if you play a career there.
Jack Gunston, 4-time premiership player, kicked over 500 goals, and is 700 years old.
Yeah.
Like, it's just insane.
and
he's one of those
technically
players
was
too-
when did he come back to Hawthorn? Was that last year?
last year.
Oh yeah, okay. So he wasn't at Brisbane when they won the premiership.
I just love that as well. Like, that is the kind of like baller move that like a top flight, Nick Dacos can go, I'll just pick and choose where I go. Jack Gunston was like, I'll do a year at a club and come back and no one's going to give a
Did
shit.
not like
Doesn't-
it. I want to go home. Take me back.
Jack Gunston. JG, don't dig this.
Jack's back, baby.
Who else played? Collingwood beat West Coast. Yeah, West Coast were
West
pretty
Coast
good.
were good.
I don't think they are as bad as anyone.
No,
everyone's
they're getting
thinking.
better. They feel like they're getting better.
Yeah, Harley Reid should stay. If I was Harley, why not? Just sign another 2 or 3 years.
Yeah,
in fact,
why not?
In fact, while that's a
Yeah.
good lead into our letter section.
Okay.
Because I've got someone who's a West Coast supporter. This is from Dom. My crisis of faith, dear Will and Charlie, I'm stuck between the ghost of Dom Sheed's left foot and the rising glow of the Gold Coast Suns.
Oh, interesting.
My family are WA-based and West Coast supporters, but I live in Darwin, where the Suns actually win. They come up regularly, and I've started taking my 3-year-old son to the game at Fortress Teo.
Yeah.
We've made some great memories already, and I'm tempted. But I was raised Catholic, and the guilt is real. Switching teams feels like cheating on a loyal spouse. Surely I need some sort of footy annulment, a papal blessing to jump on the Suns. So I turn to you. Do I follow my son into the light? Can I? Or do I keep dragging my winless cross-praying Hardly Reid sticks around?
You know what you do?
I feel like we've touched on this before.
Yeah, but it's open. Firstly, open relationship first.
Open it up.
You know what? You're living in a different place.
Yeah.
It's not like you are intentionally refusing the West Coast Eagles. They are not made available to you. This other one is being made available to you. You've got a kid, and this is your route out, right? To me, people would judge you for switching teams. But if you indoctrinate your child to be a Gold Coast Suns fan, then you're really just supporting the Gold Coast Suns because your son loves the Suns.
Yes.
I'm from West Australia.
Perfect alibi.
I'm an Eagles fan. You know what I mean? But yeah, we do go to a lot of Suns games, and we watch more Suns games because my son is also into the Gold Coast Suns, and so I'm just a good dad. I'm not a bad football supporter. I'm a great dad, and if you want to judge me for being a great dad, well, then that's on you.
And I feel like this is an era now where everyone's a bit poly. You know what I mean? Like it's as long as it's
Open it up,
healthy
man. Yeah.
and consensual, and you're honest with West Coast, and
You
your
know
West
who
Coast
doesn't
family and
care
your West
either?
Coast mates.
West Coast. West Coast don't
No,
care.
they don't give a shit.
West Coast are like the
They sell out.
West
even
Coast
now.
are the Wilt Chamberlain of like.
Isn't there a waiting list, like a 20-year waiting
Yes.
list to get into their members?
They're not even thinking about you, West Coast.
Yeah, it's like that. It's like when Homer quits Moe's bar. And he's like, "You've just lost yourself a customer." What?
Yeah, right? They don't care. Like if
I'll
you
move
were
on.
leaving a club that didn't have, if you were a GWS supporter and you were saying, I've moved up north, I'm thinking about going for the Gold Coast. I'm like, oh, I can't really afford to lose many at the Greater Western Sydney. But I would say they don't feel this feels right. And also, you're in Darwin, man. You know what people do in Darwin? Forget
each
their
other.
old life. The whole place is built on forgetting what came before.
That's true.
Like you're not meant to
That's
ask
right.
people in
No
Darwin,
last names.
like what did
Don't
you
ask
do
what
before?
anyone did.
Why did you come to
Yeah.
Darwin? You certainly shouldn't be asking them who they used to barrack for.
You mentioned the Giants. We've had some, when I say quite a few, we've had as many as you'd expect salty Giants fans, because I suggested that maybe during the broadcast they were juicing the sound of the crowd because it was empty stands. More than one person has pointed out this thing that Tony has highlighted. I was at that Suns GWS game. The TV coverage never shows the crowds. The members sit on the shady side, the same side as the cameras. That's why you can hear the crowd but only see empty stands.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't Tony. It was another listener who sent me in the same info and we finished off with, "I feel like we've been over this before." It's like, I'm sorry, I forgot.
I mean, I do think
I
we
forgot about your
have
club.
talked about them like that. We thought maybe there was some volume being pumped in
Yeah,
when we were there. I think
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That final, the Bulldogs played. Last bit of mail, Will. We've been putting out the call for coach fights, coach contests to see who will prevail.
Oh, yes.
Justin Longmuir, so far on all these hypothetical contests,
Not
has been
today,
doing really
though.
well. Not today. Well, it's interesting. I want to get your take on this. This came from Elise. Hi, guys. I'm not sure if others have suggested this, but I think I'd like to see the coaches on a board game night. Something like Monopoly, Catan, or even chess. So many previous coaches were sporty, so I'd like to see them battle with strategy. Understand who are the brutes that flip the board in frustration, who is deeply tactical, and who has no idea what is going on.
So, okay, who's good on game
Who's
night?
bad? Let's pick a board
That's
game.
good. Yeah, okay. Because game night implies there's going to be more than one game. So I think we have to have we have to have 3 games. You can't just have one because. So I think you have to have like one traditional game, like one of the real sort of like
Monopoly.
People would have them at home, right?
Generic Monopoly,
Scrabble,
Pictionary.
Pictionary, I reckon would be actually a pretty good. Okay, so let's go Pictionary. Is Monopoly a good one to watch? Scrabble. I reckon Scrabble is better to test the coaches, don't you think? Like,
I think Monopoly is good because it does separate the big clubs from the small clubs. Because I think, like, the Carltons and the Hawthorns and the Collingwoods.
But they have a natural advantage when they're buying property, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
And they want to buy up everything.
All the
St Kilda comes along and says, "Can we just have like a suburban ground on a Sunday at 4:40, please?"
They're like, "Go to jail,
St Kilda.
Go to jail. Go directly to jail. Do not pass
We put up
go.
with you, St Kilda. We tolerate you, St Kilda."
You've won second prize in a beauty contest. That's all you get. All right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let's go the 3 classics then. If we're just going to go Pictionary, Monopoly, Scrabble, right?
Scrabble.
Okay. So you got to get someone who's going to be able to spell, make words, do a bit of the business on the Monopoly board, but then have a creative aspect for the Pictionary. I think that's a good representation of like gameplay. There's a little bit of strategy in there, not that much.
Yeah, it's my initial instinct. If you're talking about who is the best across those 3 things, would be Luke Beveridge. Fond of a big word, loves using obscure quotes.
Yeah, I reckon
from,
he could spell.
Philosophers and stuff
he'd be
like
a good
that.
speller.
I reckon he can spell.
Pictionary.
I think he would.
How do you think he's going to go in the Pictionary?
I don't know. Is he got like? Because Pictionary requires some mime, right?
Yeah.
Like some.
Well, no, you've got to draw a picture. Like, in fact, it doesn't involve mime at all.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to draw the picture.
Well, I mean, I guess every coach would use the whiteboard at some point.
Oh, yeah, it's a good point. That is actually a good point.
So that might be the lever.
Yeah.
That might be harder to pick. That might just be luck of whatever the clue is, if it's an easy thing to draw, like a tree.
Well, I mean, he does have a big vocabulary, which goes to like he'd be able to identify at least most things to be able to draw them. And he does love to paint a picture with his stories. So I think maybe you're right. Does he go okay in Monopoly though, Bevo? Or is that, I mean, you can't be good at all three.
No, have you? So the only person I've ever played, my sister-in-law, I've never played Monopoly with someone who's been like super like aggressive, and she actually had a strategy, which was like she was buying up properties everywhere, but she had a real ruthless mentality. So who's the most ruthless? Sam Mitchell.
Sam Mitchell,
I guess.
Yep. Sam Mitchell definitely for Monopoly. He'd be my number one for Monopoly. I would have thought.
And then, so we're going to say Bevo for Scrabble.
Bevo for Scrabble. I'm happy with that. Knows a lot of big words. I reckon he spells pretty well. Pictionary,
I mean, Chris Scott Chris and Brad Scott are both quite eloquent as well. I think Chris Scott could be quite good at Scrabble as well.
Does depend too, doesn't it? Like if you can, like say for example, Pictionary, like it involves like being able to communicate with somebody else what your idea is. So are we assuming that maybe they're able to choose like one of the other coaches as a partner for the game of Pictionary, right?
Yes.
So maybe the Scott brothers have like a natural advantage here, sort of, twins,
from years
telekinesis.
Of school
they know
holidays.
each other. They can do a little shorthand Pictionary.
Okay. Scott brothers win Pictionary based on that family connection and holidays.
Yeah.
But,
Bevo Scrabble. I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, Monopoly Sam Mitchell.
Monopoly Sam Mitchell feels pretty, because Hawthorn's a big successful club too. He knows, and they are one of those clubs too that everyone's always like, oh, they'll probably end up in Hawthorn as well. Oh, they'll probably end up in Hawthorn as well, right? Like so.
Yeah, that's right. So it's got a Monopoly vibe to it. Does Adam Uze get a high score though just by spelling his own surname? Like Zed's gets pretty high.
No, you're not allowed to use.
That's not
names.
a word. It's a proper noun.
No, it's Scrabble. You can't use it. You can't use it.
No, Dean Cox, you can't spell out Cox either. No, I'm spelling Cox. It's not spelled COX. That's just your name.
And you get Balls doesn't have a Z on the end. I don't know how you're spelling things.
All right, that is Two Guys, One Cup this week. Thank you so much to Terry from Blue
thanks to Terry.
There'll be a link to his YouTube channel if you want to check it out. Honestly, even if you are a neutral supporter, go and support his channel. He does great work. Will, what's going on with you? Where are you?
Oh yeah, this Friday night I'm at the Wynnum Fringe doing Will Legitimate, and then Saturday and Sunday I'm at the Sydney Comedy Store doing my improvised show, and then 1 week after that I will be at the Montreal Just for Laughs Festival. If there is anyone listening from Canada or is going to be in Canada, or I know someone who's over there, send them along.
And we are taking a little break of TOEFOP for the next couple of weeks. There's going to be some stuff going in, new episodes of The Unexplained Explained.
That's right. There's other fun stuff into the feed.
And if you want to support the show, the best way to do that is still patreon.com/everyone-relax. This video will go up tonight. So if you want to get early access to Two Guys, One Cup, it's worth signing up to our Patreon. Plus, you get ad-free episodes of every show in the network. But that is Two Guys, One Cup for this week. We'll be back again next week. Play on, not 15.
Ball.
Little footy loving dickheads, dreaming about a Premiership Cup. We love our clubs, but they never win. 2 flags in 100 years. That shit house. If you think we'll be insightful, clever, or just well researched, we're here to say that's not the case. We'll just go out and wing it. We are Two Guys, One Cup.